All right, today we're diving into something that sounds like it's straight out of science fiction. But trust me, it's designed for the very real, kind of messy challenges of our hybrid world. We're talking about something called non-local leadership. And it all kicks off with a feeling that, a lot of us can probably relate to.
Yeah, that feeling. It's summed up perfectly by this quote from a CEO. Let's call him Raj. He said, "I am pulling levers, but the machine isn't responding." Just picture it. He's got all the dashboards, all the KPIs, every digital tool you can imagine, and yet he feels totally disconnected from his own team. He's yanking on all the usual levers of management and crickets. Nothing's happening.
So, this frustrating feeling, it actually has a name. It's called the proximity paradox. And it's this weird, totally counterintuitive thing, right? The more we rely on all these digital tools, Slack, Zoom, you name it, to bridge the physical distance, the more emotionally and, psychologically distant we can end up feeling from the people we work with every day. So let's dig into that, shall we? This first big idea, the proximity paradox. Why on earth do more connection tools sometimes make us feel more distant? Well, here's the core of the problem. Our workplace architecture, our remote setups, cloud servers, the whole shebang, it's changed at lightning speed. But our leadership architecture, the way we think about managing people, it's been left in the dust, totally stuck in the past.
And what's at the very root of that outdated model? It's a concept called Newtonian management. Think of it as the old school factory floor way of looking at a company. It's probably how a lot of us were taught to think about management. And honestly, it is completely falling apart in today's distributed world.
Okay, so if the old model is broken, where do we even start to look for a new one? Well, this brings us to our next big idea, and we're about to take a wild ride all the way from the factory floor to the quantum realm. To find a solution here, the source for this whole explainer suggests we need to make a huge leap away from classical physics and into the wonderfully weird world of what Einstein called spooky action at a distance.
But hang on, before we jump into the quantum stuff, let's make sure we're crystal clear on this old model. Newtonian management basically sees a company as a big machine. And the employees? Well, they're just separate cogs. And to get a cog to turn, you've got to be right there, physically pushing it. Influence demands physical presence, what they call locality. So what happens when your team goes remote? This old model totally panics. It replaces that physical oversight with, you guessed it, digital surveillance.
But what if there's a totally different way to think about this? This is where quantum physics enters the picture. You see, when two quantum particles become entangled, a change in one particle instantly affects the other one. And I mean instantly, no matter how far apart they are. Could be inches, could be light years. Albert Einstein himself found this so profoundly weird that he gave it that famous nickname, spooky action at a distance.
Okay, now this is where it gets really interesting. Let's see how this whole spooky action idea translates into two very different leadership models. On one side, you've got the old way, the signal model. This is your classic Newtonian thinking. More communication equals more alignment. Just send more emails, more Slack pings, schedule more meetings. It's leadership by constant transmission. But on the other side, you have the entanglement model. This one says, hey, if a team shares a common state, a deep sense of trust and vision, they don't need all that constant signaling. They just move as one organism. That's leadership by coherence. See the difference?
So quantum physics gives us this incredible new metaphor for connection, right? But it doesn't exactly give us a playbook for how a leader should act. For that, we're going to pivot a little. We'll turn to our third big idea, the leader as the thread. And it draws on some really ancient wisdom to solve a very, very modern problem. And this wisdom comes from a concept in Vedantic philosophy called Sutra-atman. It's this idea of a thread self. Imagine an invisible thread, a sutra, that runs through and connects literally everything in the universe, holding it all together, kind of like a string holding a bunch of pearls to make a beautiful necklace.
So how does that ancient idea apply to, say, your hybrid team? Well, in this model, your team members are the pearls. They might be scattered all over the globe, right? But it's the leader's own internal state, their unwavering vision, their deep trust in the team that acts as that invisible sutra, holding everyone together in perfect alignment. The leader doesn't just hold the thread, the leader is the thread.
Okay, so we've got these amazing, mind-bending ideas from both physics and philosophy. But the big question is, how do you actually do any of this? That brings us to the practical part. We're going to walk through a 3-stage framework called the entanglement protocol. It's pretty straightforward, really. The protocol is broken down into 3 steps. First up is initialization. That's all about creating the bond. Then you move into tuning the sutra, which is about keeping that connection strong. And finally, there's the observer's gaze, where you learn to kind of sense the team's energy without getting in the way.
So let's break down stage 1, initialization. The principle here is so simple, but it's also incredibly profound. You cannot entangle what you have not touched. What does that mean for us? It means you simply can't build a deeply connected remote team without first creating these moments of intense, real human-to-human connection. Think of these as initialization events, like a really immersive offsite. And the goal isn't just to talk strategy. It's to build the kind of trust and psychological safety that really locks the team together.
All right, next up is stage 2, tuning the sutra. And the principle here is that the strength of your whole network really depends on the tension or the quality of that thread. You see, a Newtonian leader tries to manage by force. A quantum leader, though, they manage by frequency. This means that before any interaction, a leader has to check in with themselves. What am I broadcasting right now? Is it anxiety and stress, or is it clarity and confidence? Because that frequency is exactly what keeps the whole team in sync.
And finally, we have stage 3, the observer's gaze. This is so cool. In quantum physics, the very act of measuring a system actually changes it. And guess what? The same thing is true for teams. Micromanaging, constant check-ins, they just destroy trust. So instead, the non-local leader develops this ability to sense the field, the collective energy of the team. You know what I'm talking about? You can feel it in the tone of an email, the silence on a Zoom call, or just the general vibe in a Slack channel. You learn to sense disturbances without having to interrogate everybody.
So that brings us to our final section. What does it really mean to lead in this quantum age? This whole model is a pretty radical shift for sure. And like any really powerful tool, you've got to know that it's not without its own set of risks.
Yeah, there's a dark side to entanglement. You really have to watch out for 2 main things. First, contagious stress. I mean, if the leader is the tuning fork for the team, a stressed out, anxious leader is going to instantly broadcast that anxiety to everyone. It's contagious. And second, the echo chamber. It's possible for a team to become so coherent, so aligned, that it actually stamps out healthy debate and new ideas. The leader's job is to know when to shake things up a little, to introduce some positive disruption.
So when you boil it all down, the crucial takeaway is this. The future of leadership isn't about getting better at moving bodies around an office. It's not Newtonian mechanics. It's about evolving into something completely different, becoming a sort of quantum field generator, someone who can align the collective energy and focus of a team, no matter where in the world they happen to be. And that really leaves us with one last big question to think about. I want you to take an honest look at your own leadership style, your own way of working, and just ask yourself, am I managing bodies or am I aligning energies? Because the answer to that question, it really could change everything.